Episode 4 of The Mandalorian is now streaming on Disney Plus. We're going to let you know how it is. Hey guys, welcome back to Fly By Night Reviews. I'm your host, Kiren.
I'm Dom.
Today we're going to do a review of Season 3, Episode 4 of The Mandalorian called The Foundling. Dom, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was pretty good. It was a lot shorter than the other one, so that was a nice little brisk pace to it. But yeah, I had a good time with it. How about you?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was a little disappointed with this episode. It just kind of... It felt sort of like the first episode, but the first episode had more story, even though that had issues with the story.
Yeah.
This one...
I can see that.
Now that you told me that it's the shortest episode, because sometimes I don't notice the length, because I'm just expecting I guess all these episodes would be short or whatever. But I just didn't really click with me. Besides the one scene that we're going to talk about a little bit. Just so you know, we're going to discuss spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, just go out and go watch it right now, and then come back and let us know. But yeah. So how about that opening scene? That was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, that is shooting water, or they're like, it was.
I don't know if
weird.
a couple of there was a couple of people on there that it's like, okay, they're just teaching the kids to shoot, but then you got the guys that are just full grown and just shooting because they're shooting.
Yeah, it felt like it should have been a different area, not that same area with that alligator.
Yeah,
it was just kind of look. I mean, I don't want to use the word dumb, but it just looked kind of like silly.
Yeah,
like they were just sort of they're all almost like look what I can do. I don't know, they've never done it before, and it was just sort of really kind of weird. And then it showed Grogu kind of what it made it look like he was moving the rocks with the Force, but then it ended up being the
little crabs,
little crabs and everything. So that was a little jarring. I was like, okay, this is a little goofy, but and then the kid from the first episode of the season, who got coronated or whatever. Din wanted to challenge him to him and Grogu to kind of spar or whatever.
That was interesting. The little paintball darts.
Yeah, and that was cool, I guess. It was just sort of. It definitely seems like Grogu is even though I know he's older than he looks, it's still he looks like a little baby. I mean,
yeah, he looks like a toddler, but he's actually 50 years. He's a 50-year-old.
Yeah, and I kind of knew obviously he was gonna win because they wouldn't do it if he didn't. So that was kind of predictable in one way, and
good little Yoda flips from
Attack
of the Clones.
And then what was it? And then the creature that just randomly shows up, kind of like the alligator, or in the first episode. I was just kind of really? They're just going to straight up just took the kid and then flew away, and I was just oh, I guess it's going to be another side mission. So that was kind of my initial complaint going into this episode. But
then they go on to after tracking or going off the track, kind of get that little flashback for Grogu.
Yeah, that was kind of, I was wondering why they the forager person brought him back into the cave, and she was kind of making him a little medallion, and then he kind of was getting triggered.
Yeah.
And then it went back to the prequel era, and I was like, okay, cool. I see some lightsabers, getting exciting now.
The Order 66.
And then the big kind of surprising reveal.
Yeah. I had no idea until after I watched the episode who that was. It's okay.
Yeah, so basically, if you haven't seen The Phantom Menace, there's a character called Jar Jar Binks. I'm pretty sure you know who Jar Jar Binks is. But anyway, the actor who played Jar Jar Binks is named Ahmed Best, and apparently they made him a Jedi in this episode, and it was actually pretty freaking cool. It was.
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely a redemption moment,
Yeah, well, after finding out who he was, and okay, that makes it... elevates that scene a little bit more. Kind of makes you feel good watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of recognized him from like watching the behind the scenes of the Phantom Menace, so I knew right away. Oh, okay. But I think that's kind of cool that they're trying to like kind of like what they did with Hayden. They brought him back to do Obi-Wan,
right?
Because a lot of criticisms and Jar Jar Binks is like I didn't like the character, but to like
he wasn't the I don't know, like he wasn't as bad as people made him out to be. He was kind of like the scapegoat for why the Phantom Menace was not great.
Yeah, and just as a person, as a human being, like the way he was treated afterwards was like not really great.
It's not his fault.
But so it's like that was cool. I mean, like again, like I think Star Wars is best when it has lightsabers. Like there's something exciting about when you hear the lightsabers going on, like
that hum, that satisfying hum.
Yeah, it's like you miss it, and I think it was a really cool little flashback. And again, kind of, it's crazy how like a show makes it's like looks better than the prequels did at this point. Like the quality of the CGI now and everything. So it was pretty cool.
Although on that note, when they go back to after the flashback, and then they get into the nest of that bat creature,
yeah,
and then coughs up the kid, but he's completely clean.
Yeah, no, he was like dry as a bone. Like I was expecting him to be dead. Honestly, there's
they show a helmet on the ground. Yeah.
It was like overnight. It wasn't like they just rushed to.
Yeah.
It was like literally they like waited a day and then they show up and it's like, dude's like, I'm just living in this creature's stomach. I was like, that's convenient.
Yeah, that was interesting choice.
Yeah, that was definitely some plot armor or whatever. Like, just kind of, and I was like, okay, I can sort of. But yeah, see that this is the issue. Like overall, like I don't know if they like made those choices because it's like they're trying to like appeal to more kids or whatever. But it just seems like
let's get some goop on him.
Yeah, I mean, and then like you don't have to do any to be a Mandalorian. It's just like, oh yeah, you helped rescue this kid. Like you're like the commander now or something. Like
I think they just let her be. At least my thinking was she's the one who tracked it, so they're gonna let her lead Bo-Katan lead the party. So.
Yeah. So I guess, but it's just, it seems like everything they do now is like, oh yeah, like I'll forget, like you're the perfect Mandalorian because you did this, you helped,
right?
And then of course that the creature ends up getting eaten by the alligator monster from the water, and then like to not make you feel bad about the like babies, they like, oh yeah, like now we're gonna like train these like really like. Now they train like freaking flying creatures or something.
Well, I guess that goes back because they're talking about how the first Mandalorian tamed and rode the mythosaur. So
okay, that makes sense.
And that was also brought up in the first season when Quill was trying to get Din to teach him how to ride those, whatever those things were.
Okay.
That were from that Ewok movie.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like, oh, if they didn't kind of complete that story, someone was going to complain, oh, but they those babies became orphans because of the Mandalorians or whatever, and that was
they probably died and starved.
So yeah, that was their way of like kind of like okay, everything's fine.
Yeah,
with a nice little bow. But I mean, overall, it was okay. I mean, I'll probably give it around a 5-4 maybe. In terms of like score, it was like
I'd probably give it a 6.
Okay, yeah. It was short enough where it didn't like seem like a drag, but it was just like there was things besides the cool little.
It gave us a couple of nice little story nuggets.
Yeah, and I'm always love the flashbacks when it has like lightsabers and stuff like that. That's always cool, and that definitely saved the episode. If that didn't happen in the episode, I'd have been like, eh. Well, that's it for today's show. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of this latest episode of The Mandalorian. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Just let us know. We're also on Instagram if you want to go check us out there. We post a lot of video movie content if you're interested. But yeah, we will catch you next time.
Peace.